Today we're taking a look at the AWLS light from HRT Tactical. Let's get right into the first 30-second breakdown. That's where in the first 30 seconds, give or take, I give you guys my exact thoughts on this product before we get into the full review. That way you can just stop watching because now you know exactly what I think about this, or you continue watching, find out why I say those things in more detail, and it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. This is the AWLS from HRT Tactical, and one of the coolest and most unique things about this light is the tail cap and how you actually manipulate the light. And as you can tell, it's very different than what you're used to with either just a clicky or a tape switch on top. Now, aside from the unique tail cap, this has 90,000 candela and 1700 lumens, and it is a very cool design. The fact that you don't have to have any kind of mount to get your light mounted to the rifle. Everything is one unit, which is a pro and a con, which we'll go over a little bit later because of the design. It limits you a little bit, but it also allows your light to be really close to the gun and less things to go wrong. This is all ambidextrous, so you're able to rotate the head and the tail cap back and forth, and you could switch it from left to right or lower to the bottom if you would like as well. They come in two different sizes. This is the full size that you see here, and then the micro, and they come with rechargeable batteries, which they vary from 33 minutes to 103 minutes, depending on the size you go with. This light has a lot of output, which I'll show you during this video, but it is also a little bit on the larger side. So let's get into my relationship with HRT Tactical. They did send me this light pre-release along with the micro version, which I'll show you here in a little bit. So I did not spend my own money on them. So now let's get into the full review and go over the light and the pros and the cons and a lot more detail of what I said. So 90,000 candela and 1700 lumens is up there with a lot of really good lights, and it actually beats a lot of lights. So that is a ton of output, and I'll show you some B-roll here so you guys can see. Fortunately, the camera doesn't always show the light output very well, so you'll have to take my word on it or pick one up for yourself to take a look and see how the output is. But I will do my best to show you guys here the output of it, but it doesn't always show the full spill and how well the light actually performs because it's trying to focus. But the light itself has a lot of output, and that's what you're really looking for, especially nowadays when these light companies are coming out with these higher candela and higher lumen lights. It's leaving a lot of these smaller lights behind because no one's really interested in buying these less lumen lights when you could buy something like this and have so much power and output to be able to see at hard distances, and just a lot more disruptive light if you were using it in defensive purpose or in like a duty role. So you're really wanting to look more towards these higher output lights like these. So let's take a second to talk about the design and this tail cap, which is really going to be the most unique part of this light, along with the fact that it's the design of itself and how it mounts. We'll discuss here in just a second. But let's first go over the tail cap. So my initial thought was, oh no, I'm going to accidentally turn my light on all the time with this knob here. I'm like, it's just a really goofy design. Why would you want that? But after actually using this, it was really cool. The HRT Tactical sent me this pre-release, so I've actually had a lot of time with these lights. But I've noticed that you really can't accidentally turn these on. You can actually spin these and tighten them or loosen them if you want as well. So you can tighten it to make it a little bit more of a stiff rotation, or you can loosen it and make it a little bit more loose. So you can kind of adjust it that way. But I noticed that no matter what I did, the light's actually not turning on unless you actually push it and have a positive push or click to it. So I thought that was pretty cool. They did a lot of looking and designing with this tail cap and making sure that it wasn't something that was just going to accidentally get hit and just start flashing or strobing. So if you're in a vehicle or if you're running through a woods or anything and it hits something, oh wow, I got it on. It isn't just going to get accidentally hit by something and accidentally turn on, which is never a really good thing to show the world right where you're at if you're not ready to either disrupt or see what's out there. So the best thing about this knob is the fact that you don't have to have a tape switch on top, so you have less stuff on your rail. And I found that the manipulation isn't what I thought. So originally I was like, okay, you're just going to want to take your thumb and move it around like this. And it's not necessarily what I found after training with this and practicing with it. What I found most is with your gross motor skills, when you grab your rifle, you almost just use your grip or your webbing of your hand to dig it in there, and while you're shooting, you can just push forward and be able to articulate your light, or you can just grab from the side here and be able to do it that way. So you can really use this light in a lot of different ways, and if you are having an issue with fine motor skills, you're able to just grab this and be able to manipulate it, which is kind of cool. So I've been able to try different things, and the way I found the best spot for this is on my non-dominant hand, my sport hand, hand and as far up as possible. So I'm able to get a good grip on my rifle still. And then if I want to, I can still move forward. I'm not quite using my thumb like I thought I would, like you would with your tape switch where you use it here. That's kind of what I initially thought I was gonna do with it the most. But I use that a lot less than I do where I just grip my rifle and then I move forward if I want it to actually turn on. So I found it to be an actually pretty cool design while training with it. It is something that clearly if you are going to run this and you're gonna use this primarily, you're gonna want to practice with it and you'll get better with it. And at first it's gonna be a little bit goofy like it was for me because it is a new design and something different, but the more you train with it and practice it, if this is something you wanna become proficient with, just use it and you'll find that the design is actually pretty cool. Now, I don't think this is for everybody and there are some cons with this design, which we'll go over a little bit later, but let's go over the actual mounting solution and the light body and what they did with it. So the light mount is really cool because you do not have to have another mount to mount the light. So with something like this is the Cloud Defensive Rain, love these lights. You have to have an external mount or another third-party mount to be able to put your light on the rifle if you want to have it a little more flush like this is to the gun, unless you just want to run it off a pick rail off here on the side. This one mounts directly and you don't have to worry about having any kind of extra mounts or the extra cost because those cost about $40, $50 a piece. So you save money and durability-wise, you worry less because now you are just a direct mount to your rail opposed to having to mount it to something else, which adds screws, which adds more points of failure. The way they designed this, they kept it really tight and flush to your rail so you don't have anything hanging out. I don't like flashlights directly on the side of my handguard. I like to keep them up on this 45 type angle because I think it sits better. It keeps everything a little bit closer and your rifle accessories aren't sticking out to be able to snag on anything. Now, the downside to this is you aren't able to manipulate the angle of your light. So whatever you have here is what you have. And where I ran into a problem is here on the BRN, and this was the only one I've so far ran into. I've tried to put this on different guns, and I think it is because of the handguard design along with the backup sights. So I was not able to mount this directly completely. It was able to mount and it was fine, but it would loosen very quickly because it wasn't mounted perfectly because it was making contact with your backup sights, which I didn't like. I don't want it to make contact with anything. I'd rather it just be floating by itself. So it is mounted directly to the handguard and that is it. This one was pushed against the the backup sights and it caused me to have some issues where I continued to have to tighten it and it was rubbing against, as you can tell, actually there's a little bit of wear on this light. It was rubbing against that backup sight and I didn't really like that. So the design, you are gonna have to check with the handguard and rail that you're running. That is the only one that I have had a problem with. I put this on multiple different guns with different sighting solutions and optics and iron sights, I should say, and I didn't have any problems with any of those. But I wanted to at least make you aware that with this design, it can run into problems. Now, another problem where you're gonna run into, let me pull up another gun here, is in a situation where you want to run something like an IR device on top. You are not able to have this light mounted in its normal position like I would, so I mounted it on a lower position here. You are still able to manipulate and use your light if you want to. You're still able to use your IR device if you want to. So everything is still usable and it works. You're just gonna have to work around that by lowering it down here to the bottom opposed to the top. So if you wanna run IR, this might not be the best option just because you can't really move things around exactly where you want it to be able to manipulate perfectly with your IR device. So just something to think about, but we worked around it here and it's working just fine. So this is the micro, this is the smaller version. I'm sure you saw some B-roll of them side by side, but this is the much smaller version. So this one, battery life is gonna be 33 minutes opposed to the larger one, which is 103 minutes, which is a pretty significant difference, but they do come with rechargeable batteries and they are really good batteries in my experience. So if you guys are familiar with the Cloud Defensive Rain, that is a light that I really like because it's really easy to install and you can rotate it left to right. It's ambidextrous. And that's something that I think that's really cool about this light is I can take the head and the tail cap off and rotate it and then switch it. Rotating this from the top position to the bottom position was really quick and easy. I just took the two screws off and then I rotated the tail cap and the head and then just mounted it back on. So it is really quick and easy to mount this and put it exactly where you want opposed to some lights and combinations. You know, it takes a lot lot because you're using different screws. You got to make sure you're doing it the right way where you're mounted to the mount first and then to the rail, and then taking it off and moving it can kind of be annoying because you got to take off all the screws in different mounts. So it is just really easy to actually move around from gun to gun, which is something I like because when I'm testing different guns, I like to rotate the accessories that I'm using to maximize the round counts. So I'll move this on different projects and guns that I'm working on at that time, and it was really easy to do. So in my sense, it's really helpful, and I like that. So I don't know if that is a pro or something that you would personally use, because some people just throw it on their gun and they'll never move it. But I do like the fact that you can move things very quickly and the ability to have an ambidextrous setup easily. So I checked because I knew somebody would ask, but you can put Surefire light heads on this body and it works just fine. So any other Surefire style lights that go on Surefire bodies will be able to mount directly to this one. Don't really know if you'd want to do that or anyone is going to do that, but I just wanted to check and confirm that. So that is confirmed. You can put your Surefire style heads on this body if you wanted to. So now let's go over a con, and it's really hard to say this is like a true con because the con is also a pro. It really is just going to come down to who you are and what you are doing with this and the design of your rifle and what you're going for. So the design of the light can be a con, but it also is the biggest pro in my mind as well. So the fact that it has a direct mount, there's no way to adjust the angle. Clearly, when you're running something like this, an IR device, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So I don't really want to say this is a downfall and strike against the light, because it's really biggest con is also its biggest pro. So that is going to be a personal preference on who you are. Some people are going to run this and be like, man, I really don't like that because now I can't run this, this, or this. I like to move things around. And if you're that person, this might not be the light for you. But if you're a person that's like, man, I love the fact that it's simple, the design is great, it fits my rail really well, and maybe I'm not running an IR device, or maybe you are and you don't mind it being down here, then this might be a perfect light for you. And that is going to be for you to decide. The price for the full size is going to be $295, and the price for the micro is going to be $285. It's going to be up to you to decide if that price is worth it to you. Hopefully this video was able to help you make a better purchase decision, to decide if maybe you should pass and go with something else, or if these lights and everything that I said about them is exactly what you are looking for. That is always my goal, to help you spend your money in the best way possible, because it's your hard-earned money and I don't want to see you waste it or buy more and more and more things because you find they don't work. Hopefully the things that I say and the things I tested are helpful for you. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. I would love to answer them and to assist you and guide you in the right direction. If you guys are interested in helping out the channel and the things I do here, there's a couple ways to do that down in the description. There is a link to my link tree, and the links there from Palmetto State Armory, Premier Body Armor, anything like that does help out the channel, and I appreciate that. There's also some discount codes from companies that I personally trust and use, and you guys can save some money from there. A couple companies that support me and the things I do here are Howitzer, Brownells, and Hold Up Display. Howitzer is a great clothing company that donates 5% of proceeds to charity, and they actually collaborated on a cool t-shirt design with me, which I'll show you guys some modeling photos here me and my brother did, and I love this company, and there's a link in the description for that. Brownells is a company that helps me a ton. It helps me a lot with all these projects and builds that I do, and I couldn't do anything without them. And you guys can use code TA10 to save 10% off orders $150 or more, which is huge because they have pretty much everything, and you can save a lot of money. So like all these builds that I do, I mean, imagine every time you build like $1,000, $2,000 gun, you save 10%. It's $100, $200 more you can put towards the next build or your optic or anything else. So it's super helpful, and I hope you guys use that to save some money. And then Hold Up Displays are the ones that make these awesome mounts, and they're so cool. If you guys are interested in the video for this whole room, check it out here. And I appreciate Hold Up Display for being a supporter of my channel and the things I do. Other than that, guys, thank you so much, and I appreciate you all.